What I'm showing you today is the dynamic sign system that I've created and put on the Fab Store. Uh, the main thing behind this is to limit draw calls by putting all the signs using the same meshes and on the same texture atlas. And I'm doing it with a tool that I've created. And let me show you this. First, I'm going to show you this particular material's textures. Let me find it. Okay, so you can see, got a whole atlas here on a virtual texture for all sorts of different signs. Now, what I'm going to do is run a tool that I have here. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to input that texture here, select my sign, and then I get to select what sign I want by doing something by clicking the bottom left and then the upper right. And now, as you can see, the sign, it did its math inside the shader and adjusted the custom primitive data so that the sign is automatically placed. And from there, you can scale it and do whatever you want. Now, an interesting thing about this is that the grunge on the edges is totally dynamic, meaning regardless of how you scale it, it will always be the same size and same shape, whatever. It would always look good and not stretched. And now I have a few custom primitive data values to modify to change the look of signs. Now this is the base sign. There's no unlit. It's just a regular sign. And you can adjust, let's see here. I'm just going to show you a few things. Like this is the edge grunge you could adjust depending on how much you want, how little you want, how strong it is. Then we have sort of a mid-range grunge. You could kind of see it in there. The strength of it. I'm going to move this down and you see that. Then I'm just going to undo that. We also have a grunge for the inside. We could just completely remove it if we want, make it stronger, whatever. There's a lot of different custom primitive data for things like roughness and all sorts of other things that I'm not going to get into right now. I'm just showing you the bare basics here. But if you wanted to, you can, let me find it really quick. Grunge move. You want all the signs to look exactly the same, so you can move the grunge on some of these, the pattern, so it looks totally different. So the grunge basically is never the same on any other sign. In the demo scene, we should have instructions or what these things are about. But we're just going to move on. We're going to get to emissive signs now. And we could also, it's the same principle. The grunge even blocks out the emissives. What's cool about it is it actually automatically detects the edge of the sign, so you know what's glowing and what's not. As in, the middle will be glowing more as though there's a light bulb behind the sign, and the edge will be darker. And you could also adjust that in here. But let's see here. Just trying to figure out what I set up here somewhere, but there's a lot of custom primitive data values. I have a list of them. Here it is. As you can see, I could the edge of it well as much as I want. Hell, we could invert it. I'm just gonna undo that. But yeah, that is again totally dynamic. And let me turn off the sky. That's what I was looking for. Okay. So you can see all the lights, the edge grunge, blocking the emissive. And again, the same tools can be run to choose your sign. I'm just going to move on because the next one, this one, instead of using the edges to stop the emissive, will actually use vertex color to make the emissive go away. This is because it's a three-dimensional sign and it's a little bit more difficult. The P as well has a few additional features for, since it's still just using one texture, there's not a separate emissive here. I've made it so that the base texture is using this P, but obviously when it's not lit, I want it to turn black. So I multiply. There's a value in here where I can multiply the original value by one of the custom primitive data values, and that makes the diffuse color turn total black. And that way, when it's on, the emissive takes over and does its thing on its own. And as for over here, we have one that is a little different. This one uses a separate texture for opacity, emissive, and roughness. So that way, the grunge isn't dynamic per se, but on other things, for instance, this sign is torn away a bit. And 1 second, where are the clouds? I want to get rid of those. There we go. Okay, so I use dither opacity, but there's no reason you couldn't change that. I just find that this would probably be better for performance. But as you can see, this also has normals in here that are tileable and are adjustable via custom primitive data. It's a small detail, but it's nice for these old wrinkled signs that are sticking to a window. And then also, obviously, I could make them emissive or not in case there's a lit window behind them. It looks better if they got a slight glow to them. Also, obviously, you could disable the emissive. All with custom primitive data. But yeah, there are plenty of other features you could look into inside the Vader and create your own material instance. But I have a list of custom primitive data values here, as well as the README files, and a bunch more instructions, including the workflow. So that's the dynamic sign system.